They dragged her across the gravel as if she weighed nothing. Blood mixed with dust on her knuckles, but she never cried out. The men around her were laughing. Hard, cruel laughter that echoed inside the concrete walls of the compound. One of them leaned close and whispered the words meant to break her. "Die now, bitch." The iron gate screeched open, and the smell hit her first. Rotting meat, rust, fear. The K9 pen had not been fed properly in days. The dogs inside were not trained anymore. They were starving, feral, turned into weapons by neglect. This was not discipline. This was execution. What none of them knew, what they would soon regret, was that the woman they had thrown into that pen was not prey. She had built this program. She owned every single contract that paid their salaries. And long before any of them wore a trident on their chest, she had survived worse than dogs. The pen door slammed shut behind her. Metal on metal. Final. The handlers stepped back, placing bets under their breath. One man turned away, already bored, convinced the show would be short. Inside the pen, the dogs circled. She didn't move. Her breathing slowed. Her eyes tracked everything. The limping male with scars on his muzzle, the younger female trembling from hunger, the alpha holding back, confused by her stillness. Years ago, in a classified facility buried so deep under desert rock it didn't officially exist, she had trained these same bloodlines. She knew their instincts better than the men who abused them. She dropped to one knee. Softly, barely audible, she spoke a single command. The alpha froze. The handlers outside laughed louder, thinking she was begging. Then the dogs sat, every single one. Silence replaced the laughter. The man nearest the gate frowned. What the hell? Before he could finish, alarms began screaming across the compound. Red lights, lockdown tones, a voice over the intercom. Calm, cold, female. Attention all personnel. This facility is now under emergency command review. Weapons down. Do not resist. The men turned pale. That voice wasn't supposed to exist anymore. High above the compound, the sky split open. The sound came first. A deep, predatory growl that vibrated through bone and concrete. An A-10 Thunderbolt II screamed overhead, so low the dust lifted in waves. Its call sign was whispered in briefings like a ghost story. Valkyrie. Pinned SEAL teams on the outer perimeter looked up in disbelief. They had been surrounded for hours, communications jammed, air support denied. Someone had shut them down from the inside. Then Valkyrie spoke over open comms. Targets marked. Friendly forces, get your heads down. The first strike was surgical. Not bombs, warnings. Precision fire that shredded antenna towers, guard posts, vehicle engines. Chaos erupted. Men ran without orders. Command structure collapsed in seconds. Inside the K9 pen, the gate unlocked with a hydraulic hiss. She stood. Her uniform was torn, but the insignia beneath was unmistakable. Not rank, authority. A colonel burst into the yard, weapon raised, eyes wild. You, on your knees. She didn't even look at him. Colonel, she said calmly, you assaulted a classified asset, violated 7 international military protocols, and attempted an unauthorized execution. He froze. Slowly, she turned to face him. And you did it on camera. Screens across the compound lit up. Live feeds, body cams, drone angles, every moment replayed in brutal clarity. Somewhere far away, in rooms without windows, generals and admirals watched in silence. 4 SEAL colonels entered the yard, weapons lowered, faces grim. One of them removed his helmet. Ma'am, he said quietly, command authority has been transferred back to you. The colonel who had ordered her death staggered back. That's not possible. She was. Disavowed. She finished for him. Not erased. She walked past him as if he were already gone. The pin teams were extracted within minutes. Valkyrie stayed overhead until the last bird lifted off. No medals. No announcements. Just another impossible mission completed. Later, in a secure briefing room, someone finally asked the question they were all thinking. Why didn't you fight back sooner? She leaned back, eyes distant. Because I needed to know who would cross the line when they thought no one was watching. No one spoke. The program was shut down that night. Careers ended quietly. Files disappeared. Names were reassigned to training manuals without credit. As for her, she vanished again, back into the space between support and legend. Some say she still flies, answering calls no one else can. Others say she trains ghosts, soldiers whose identities will never exist. But in certain units, when morale breaks and hope is gone, someone will whisper a call sign into the dark. And somewhere above the battlefield, engines will answer. Because the most dangerous warriors are not the loudest. They are the ones you never realize you work for, until it's already over. The world believed the incident never happened. By morning, the compound existed only as a blurred satellite image stamped training facility, decommissioned. News outlets received nothing. Families of the disgraced officers were told their loved ones had been reassigned overseas. The files were sealed so deep that even intelligence officers couldn't see their own redactions. But inside the system, something had shifted. She felt it the moment her transport lifted off. The Black Hawk cut through the night with its lights off, rotors muted by classified dampening tech. Across from her sat two men who didn't speak, didn't blink much either. No insignia, no names. They were there to watch, not escort. She stared out the open side door, desert lights fading beneath them, and allowed herself exactly 10 seconds to breathe. Then the tablet vibrated in her hand. Priority black. Coordinates appeared. No briefing. No context. Just a time stamp and one word beneath it. Valkyrie acknowledged. So they hadn't buried her after all. Good. The aircraft banked north. Far away, beyond borders that technically didn't exist, something had gone wrong. Not loud wrong. Quiet wrong. The kind that didn't make the news because if it did, entire alliances would unravel. She arrived at the forward command site just before dawn. A half-buried bunker carved into a mountain ridge, humming with encrypted chatter. Inside, operators froze when she walked in. Younger ones straightened without knowing why. Veterans felt it in their gut, that pressure when a higher predator enters the room. A major tried to block her path. "Ma'am, this area is restricted." She held up the tablet. Every screen in the room flickered. Command codes cascaded down displays like rainfall. The major swallowed. "Clear the way." Inside the briefing room, the situation unfolded in silence. A Joint SEAL reconnaissance team had gone dark inside hostile territory. No extraction window, no satellite feed, no heartbeat telemetry. Worse, there were indications of a counter-sniper unit operating in the region. Professional, ghost level, the kind that didn't miss, didn't brag, didn't leave bodies behind. Someone had sent the team anyway. She studied the terrain map, eyes narrowing. "This isn't an ambush," she said. "This is a test." A colonel across the table stiffened. "A test for what?" "For me." The room went quiet. "They want to see if I still bleed," she continued. "If I still follow orders." Another officer leaned forward. "With respect, ma'am, the men out there are already dead if we don't move. Now," she finished, "and if we move the way you're thinking, they'll die faster." She tapped the screen. "Launch Valkyrie. I want an A-10 in the air in 12 minutes. The colonel hesitated. "Airspace denial protocols. I wrote them," she said calmly. "Break them." No one argued again. By the time the sun crept over the mountains, Valkyrie was airborne. From the cockpit, the battlefield looked deceptively peaceful. Rolling ridges, dry riverbeds, ancient stone villages that had seen 1,000 wars. But her sensors painted a different picture. Heat signatures tucked into shadows, signal ghosts bouncing between relay points, sniper nests so well camouflaged they looked like rocks. Her HUD locked onto the first anomaly. She didn't fire. Instead, she whispered into the mic. "Ghost 1, Ghost 2, if you can hear me, flare blue." 5 seconds. Nothing. Her jaw tightened. Then, 2 faint blue flickers pulsed near a ravine. Alive. Barely. She rolled the aircraft hard left as a missile screamed past her tail. So they were hunting her now. Good. She dropped altitude, flying low enough that the mountain winds rattled her wings. Enemy fire erupted from 3 ridgelines. She marked them all, feeding data back to command and, quietly, to something else. A second network. Unofficial. Invisible. Within minutes, the ground shifted. Figures emerged from terrain that moments ago had been empty. No flags, no patches, just movement, silent, lethal, coordinated. The Black Viper Unit, OMEGA-7. Ghost recon operators who technically didn't exist anymore. The counter-sniper team realized too late that they weren't the hunters. From the ground, a wounded SEAL looked up as the sky roared. The A-10 didn't just attack. It protected. Rounds stitched a wall of steel between the SEALs and advancing enemy forces. Valkyrie flew cover so close that debris rattled her canopy. She guided extraction birds in manually, clearing landing zones with terrifying precision. When it was over, only silence remained. Back at command, someone exhaled a breath they hadn't realized they were holding. The colonel approached her as she removed her helmet. "Ma'am, they said you were disavowed." She looked at him then, really looked. They say a lot of things when they're afraid. That night, alone in a secure room, she finally allowed the mask to slip. She flexed her bruised hands, stared at old scars, some from training, some from betrayal. She had given everything to a system that tried to erase her when she became inconvenient. And yet, when the call came, she answered. Because warriors like her didn't fight for flags or promotions. They fought for the ones abandoned in the dark. The tablet vibrated again. Another priority. Another impossible mission. This one closer to home. She smiled faintly. "All right," she murmured. "Let's see who else forgot who they work for." Far above, engines warmed. Somewhere below, men who thought they controlled the shadows were about to learn a hard truth. You can't bury a legend that still flies. If you want to see even better stories like this, make sure to subscribe to the channel, hit the like button, leave a comment, and press the bell icon for more updates.